Hello and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we are going to discuss how Deno handles files, how Deno opens, read and write files. So I have already prepared a directory for you, Deno files. It has only the VS Code folder with the settings. In this tutorial we are going to use the Deno plugin for VS Code. We are going to enable the plugin. We are going to use the unstable interface because some parts of the FS modules, the file system modules in Deno requires the unstable API. And also because linting also requires the unstable. We are going to import the IntelliSense and we are going to use the TypeScript formatter from Deno. And aside from that, I have created a directory called data. In that folder we have a cat file. So you see this amazing guy here. I have grabbed that from the internet. No, it's not my cat, unfortunately. We are going to read and write binary files. And yeah, we can start doing the stuff now. So I'm going to close this and I'm going to create a file called main.ts and I'm going to import. We are going to use the unique ID generator from Deno because we are going to generate unique folder names inside our folder structure, and we are also going to import the file system module from Deno. In case you don't know, if you go to the main page of Deno, deno.land, and you go to the standard library menu, then you have the unique ID generator here, UUID, and you have the file system module here. So if you go there to the unique ID generator, you need to import the mod.ts file from there. So, and you can read the documentation as well. The same goes for the file system. You go to the file system and you import the mod.ts from there, and you can read also the documentation on how to use it. I'm going to explain that to you here. So we are going to, as I said, import first the generator for folder names, well, names, IDs, from https deno.land.standard uuid.mod.ts. So this is the generator, and we are going to import also many stuff from the file module, file system module. For example, the walk, which will recursively walk through a directory structure and display and grab the items from the directory, and those items can be either files or directories, and you can grab information from them. Also exist will return a boolean whether a file or a directory exists or not. There is also, this is the asynchronous version. The synchronous version is named exists sync, and all synchronous operations in the file system module are prefixed with sync, with the word sync. So for example this, and if you want to ensure that a file or a directory exists, then you have to ensure a directory or ensure a file. If the file exists, it will not do anything, it will just return. If the file doesn't exist, it will create the file. The same goes for ensure directory. Okay, and as for the exists sync, there is also a synchronous version here. we are not going to use that, and I think there is also a synchronous version for this. I'm not going to use it as well. So importing from the same as above, HTTPS from deno.land.standard.file system module /mod ts. So okay, so let's start by trying to generate a directory name, and that will be from v4 generate. And actually this UUID is very useful utility if you want to generate identifiers for your tables in some SQL databases, or if you are using MongoDB or something like that. I mean, this is very handy if you want to use that in some applications. So we have now generated a directory name, and we are going actually to hand that to the exists function. So if I write exists, and I'm going to see if data, okay, let's say your name, if exists, this returns a promise, okay, and that promise is of Boolean type. So I'm going to say then I'm going to deal with whatever I have received something. So this is a Boolean value, of course. So I'm going to console log that. If we have any errors, then I'm going to catch them. Okay, so console error e. Now let's check that and see. So I'm going to Deno run this, and I'm going to allow reading. I'm going to allow writing as well, because I will be writing this command later anyways. So write, and I need to allow unstable. Okay, so let's see. TS. Oh, is it something that I have? Yeah, it's not allow unstable, it's unstable, just like that. So let's see. Okay, so the file doesn't exist, and that's why it returns false. Other than that, there is no, I don't know why it's returning undefined, but I will leave it as this. I'm going to show you the synchronous version of this statement, so you know how to use it. So we just enclose this in an if statement. So exists, since it returns a Boolean value, this sync, and we do the same. I will copy this from above. Okay, if this exists, then console log file, or directory, actually directory let me write that with a backtick as well, because this is needed. Okay, exists. Okay, else console log no such directory. Okay, let's see what we have here. So no such directory. Yeah, because it runs this as well, so it returns false, and we can comment this code now. Okay. I'm going to show you now how to read and write binary files. So in this case, I'm going to use the Deno API directly for opening the file. So in this case, const content of file await Deno open, and I'm going to pass the path to this file, because an image file, a JPEG file, is actually a binary file. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Data cat JPEG, and this is a file. It's a Deno file. It's a type file. Okay, so we need to read the content of that file into a unsigned integer 8 array, which is an unsigned array of bytes. That's the standard way of handling binary files. So const file content. Okay, I'm going to await, since this is a asynchronous operation. Deno read all. I'm going to read everything at once. So, and I'm going to pass the handler, the file handler, which is the C file constant that I have created. Okay, and this is return. The f content here is of type int 8 array. Okay, so this is now in the memory. So we can do whatever we want with this, if you have anything in mind. Okay, so this is the way how to handle memory content. Okay, so I'm going first to ensure that the new file. Okay, I'm going to copy this file to another file. So I'm going to ensure that the other file, the new file, exists. So if ensure file actually, so if the file exists, then that's okay. If the file doesn't exist, it will be created. So data, and I'm going to call it new cat, for example, new cat JPEG. Okay. So this will ensure that the file has been created for me. Now I'm going to define an output file handler, which is I'm going to open this with Deno. So Deno open, and I'm going to say dot data dot new slash new cat dot JPEG, and I'm going to say I'm going to pass options telling Deno that I'm going to write to this file. Okay, so in this case, after that I can now write into that file. So again, await, because this is an asynchronous operation. So Deno write all. If you have a buffer, you can use write instead, and you can grab the content of that buffer and write it incrementally. But since we have used read all, we have read all that content, and we can write it all directly without buffering that, unless you have a very large file and you want to divide that into chunks. So write all, and we can give the handler to that file, which is output file, and we can give the data content, which is f content. So this is the binary content that is going to go to that file handler. After that, of course, Deno close the file and output file. Here it's not when you want to close a file, you don't close it by the file name, you close it by a resource ID. Resource ID is just a number that refers as a handler to the file that you have opened. So it's RID. Okay, so let's try this. So I guess I'm okay. So okay, so as you can see, we have now another file called newcat, and as you can see, it's a copy of the previous file. Great. So let's move on. Okay. Now I'm going to create actually data structure for reading and writing a text file. I'm going to declare an interface, and that interface is called user, and that user data structure will have a first name, which is a string, last name, which is also a string, and let's say email, which will be also a string, and a photo file name, which is a string. This is the file name, not the photo itself. Okay. Supposedly you have I don't know, a social media application, right? And you want to create a user. You want to store the data, the information about that user into a database of some sort. But sometimes you don't want to store the binary files themselves into the database system. You would actually store them in a directory on the file system and let the operating system handle the files themselves. So for example, in that case, you would create a folder specific to that user, and you will store the information about that user inside that folder together with the binary image, for example. Okay, and I'm going to create now an example user called user, how original, of type user, and I'm going to say the first name is cat and the last name is what can be an original cat name, let's say Smith. So it's Mr. Cat Smith. Okay, and the email would be catsmith@somecompany.com. It's usually some special units or of some sort, like 00700 cat. So Mr. Cat Smith is there. So, and the photo file name would be cat JPEG. Okay, so now we have an object constant, and we will be I don't know, we will be we'll create a function for that. So let's say setup user, and that is a function that will be an arrow async function that will be taking information about the user we are going to store, and that info parameter is of type user, of course, and it will return, of course, a promise of void if we are in any case. So const, in this case, what would we need? We need also to generate a folder name. So for every user, we will generate a unique folder name. So folder name equals v4. Remember, we have imported this function for that. So v4 generate, and we will be, what is the file name for that? Inside every folder we will be creating a text file that will be named as the first name underscore the last name dot text. So we can do this like that. Let's say it will be actually info first name underscore info last name, and of course of type text. So this is the file name, and we are going to ensure that the directory itself exists. So await ensure there, and we are now going to check if that folder exists. So folder name. Okay, we have created the folder name, and we will going to ensure if well, okay, I mean, in other cases you might not do this because the user might be already created and you want to check for that, but we will just assume that whether the user was created before or not, we will create a new directory and we will ensure that the directory exists. So ensure directory exists, and we are going to ensure the file itself exists. So the file will be an empty file will be created for us, and again this will be data, and this will be in the folder of folder name, and the file name, of course. So this will ensure that a file name will be created, an empty file name will be created, an empty file, I'm sorry, will be created in case the file doesn't exist. Okay, now we have ensured that the directory exists and the file exists. Now we will be creating a file handler that will be equal to that will be returned after we open the file that we have created. So open okay, again data, and I'm going to grab this so I don't write it all again. Okay, folder name, file name, yeah, that should be it. So now we have a file handler, and now we are going to use something called a text encoder. When you are dealing with the reading and writing data to files, you are not sending the text directly. You are sending the text to a encoder or decoder that will encode or decode to from an unsigned array of bytes. Okay, so but since we are using text in this case, we are going to use a text encoder, and that will ease the job for us. So we are going to create an encoder, and that is of type text encoder. Okay, and we are going to create the data for us, and that equals the encoder encode. We are going to send now the text data. So the text data will go to I'm sorry. Yeah, it's going to be the info, first name, and of course we are going to separate that data with a comma. This will look like a CSV file actually. So if you know what CSV files, these are a comma separated data lines. Okay, so in this case we have also the info, last name, comma, oops, info, email, and info, photo file name, and I'm going to append a carriage return, a new line at the end of the text, so that will insert a new line after each line. And this is the data is ready, and now we can send that data to the file itself. So I'm going to use the API, the Deno API, which is Deno write, and we are going to use write file for this. So write file, and I'm going to say data, okay, and I'm going to say folder name, okay, and after folder name it will be file name, and okay, so you say where you want to send the data, the file name together with the path, and then you send the data itself. And now there is an optional information you can send. For example, if you want to create the file or not, but we have created that file already. So I'm going to say false here, and I'm going to do this couple of times. For example, here I'm going, instead of create, I'm going to say append. If you want to append data to the end of the file, you can do that. So I'm going to do this couple of times. It doesn't matter that the data is duplicated. It's not about that. The point is you can open a file and append the data until the data is finished. Okay, so I'm going to do this couple of times, and this is a text file. Okay, so what if you want to create a JSON file? Well, you can do this. First, I'm going to show you that this works. Okay, let me do this first, and after that, okay. What's happened? Oops. Say what? Oh, it didn't work. Why? Yeah, sorry. I'm stupid. I forgot to call the function. So await, setup, user, and we are going to send the user information to that. Yeah, I have defined that. Yeah, I have defined that. So here we go. Okay. All right. So we have created a folder here with the unique name generator, and we have a folder called Cat Smith, and it contains 4 lines of data. Okay. So here you see you can do that this way, and I'm going to show you now how to create JSON files, because this is also important. You might want to store some configuration files in JSON. You might want to store some data into JSON format, so this is very important as well. So Deno write, and write file, of course, and we are going to actually I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to yeah, never mind. Okay, JSON, and I'm going to call the encoder again, because we have, you know, it's expecting a byte data, it's not expecting string data. So I'm going to call the encoder, and I'm going to tell to encode, and now I'm going to call the standard JavaScript library JSON stringify, and I'm going to send the, what's the name of the info? So I'm going to send the parameter data info, which is an object. So it is going to stringify that, and I'm going to send an option called create, since this file doesn't exist at this moment, so I'm going to create it. Okay, so let's check what's going to happen here. Okay, so we have created another folder. You see we have different folder names here, and yeah, unfortunately the JSON file has a text inside that, but I didn't want to work with that, so we'll take it as is. So we have a JSON file, a properly formatted JSON file actually. So yeah, that's it. And as before, we have also the text file. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a function that is going to enter a folder and display all the items inside that folder. And for that, I'm going to use the walk function. So yeah, so let's create a function called list files, and that will be an asynchronous function that will be taking a path which is of type string, and will be returning, well, nothing actually. It will be just displaying data. So for await, and now we are going to pick every item from that folder, from that path, and walk path. Okay, so that function will return a list of items, a list of directories and folders. So okay, and in this case I'm going to check for one. I'm going to check whether the item is a folder or not. So for example, is directory. Actually, it's a attribute, it's not a function. Okay, so if it is a directory, I'm going to say console log directory, and I'm going to show the directory path. Other than that, it must be a file. Okay, so console log, okay, file, and again item, yeah, path. Also, it can be a symlink, but yeah, you get the idea. You can make a test for that. So yeah, we need to call the function. So await list files, and we are going to send it to the data file. So let's see what's going to happen here. Okay, so it has created yet another directory, and it's listing that. So it's listing the data is a directory, this is a directory, and this is a file catsmith text, this is another file catsmith text JSON, this is a directory, etc, 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 and of course the cat pictures from the root directory, from the data directories themselves. Okay, so now you understand how easy it is to handle files, to read, write them. You can also move them from place to place. It's very easy to do so. And this is very handy if you have special applications that deal with data movements and file system operations. And that concludes the tutorial for this one. Please share, like, and write some comments if you have any questions. Subscribe if you haven't done so, and I'll see you in the next time.